Sometimes it feels like the world is full of noise you cannot turn off. This is 10 Better Minutes, a place to hear a few stories from real life that often go unseen. It is a podcast that brings forward moments of quiet balance without ignoring the difficulties around us. Today's episode is here to remind us that even in the middle of everything, there are simple acts that show a steadier side of life. But first, I want to share a story about a woman who woke up in the middle of the night and helped a boy find help for his unresponsive father, staying with him until emergency crews arrived. At 3 a.m. in Nanaimo, British Columbia, Amy Pye was asleep when her doorbell camera lit up. The view showed a frightened young boy, and he did not hesitate. He pleaded for help, explaining that his father needed help and that he was in trouble at home. The boy had already knocked on 3 other doors before arriving at Amy's place. Amy did not ask questions that could take time. She followed the boy back to his house and called 911 right away. Then, as the emergency operator guided her, she started CPR and chest compressions. She kept going for 10 to 15 minutes, even though she learned later that managing compressions that long is difficult. In that quiet hour, 2 people who did not share the ordinary routines of life still found each other with one shared purpose: to keep time from running out. When paramedics arrived, one took over and the situation shifted from frantic waiting to skilled care. The man was transported to the hospital in stable condition. Later, it was reported that he was recovering after suffering a heart attack. This is a story about trust in people. It is about answering the door, making the call, and doing what is needed while help is on the way. Even in the darkest minutes, one steady action can help a life keep going. It is the kind of moment that stops time, and it is also the kind of moment training is meant to meet. Today, we are looking at a story out of Greenville County, South Carolina, where quick action helped save a child. On May 31st in Greenville County, a little girl fell into a swimming pool and stopped breathing. In those critical minutes, 2 deputies, Jordan Stevenson and Connor O'Shields, responded right away. The Greenville County Sheriff's Office shared video days later, along with messages that praised how professionally they acted under pressure. Instead of hesitating or second-guessing themselves, they did what they had been trained to do. That is what makes the story feel like medical hope. Not just because something good happened, but because preparedness met need. When people are trained for emergencies, the future can shift in an instant, and a life does not have to be decided by the length of time before help arrives. Because of the deputies' swift response and their training, the child was given a chance to keep living her story, and the office said she is alive. And for the rest of us, that is a steady reminder that competence can be a form of kindness, especially when every second counts. It is easy to assume that play, risk, and big stage moments belong only to the young. But in Hertfordshire, a group of older performers is quietly proving something different, one workshop and one show at a time. Generation Circus is bringing back an over-50s circus with a rebellion against ageism, happening on Sunday, June 14th at Weredrill Hall. The performers are between 50 and 96 years old, and the acts span trapeze, hula hoop, juggling, clowning, and dance. Last year, Will You Still Love Me drew sellout audiences of 500, and this time the aim is even clearer. The message is not about pretending age is invisible. It is about choosing where you want to belong and deciding you are allowed to learn and shine. The really generous part is that the weekly skills workshops are completely free, funded by the National Lottery Community Fund. Emma Taylor describes the space as nurturing and safe, where people can try new things without feeling judged. And Allison echoes that same feeling, like the group becomes a soft landing while you stretch yourself toward something new. So here is what I hope you take with you today. Trust in people, and in the idea that community can make courage feel ordinary. If you have ever wanted to start again, this is a good reminder that the door can be open at any age. On a walk, Michelle Oss noticed something small but striking. Her rescue dog, Honey, seemed to perk up the moment she heard people speaking Spanish, as if those sounds meant something familiar. What Michelle did next was simple, careful, and hopeful. At home, she started with the basic command she could test right away. She told Honey to sit in Spanish, using the word siéntate, and watch closely. Honey responded. Encouraged, Michelle added more Spanish cues and then reinforced the moments with praise spoken in Spanish too. The more she practiced, the more consistent Honey became, following along with the rhythm of those commands. Michelle was also learning to be patient in another way, because Honey had come into her life with a difficult start after a complicated spay surgery, and even though she was on the mend, adjusting took care and attention. Against that backdrop, the discovery with Spanish felt like a bright thread of connection, something that could lift the day without demanding anything dramatic. In time, Michelle came to believe Honey was responding reliably to those specific verbal cues. And maybe just as importantly, Michelle felt motivated to return to Spanish herself, not out of pressure but out of joy. If you have ever let a language fade, or worried you had missed your moment, this story gently reminds you that connection can arrive in unexpected places, and it can still spark a fresh beginning. Sometimes independence feels like a door you can only open by pushing back. This story holds a clear example of how a strong boundary can still be a loving invitation. Heidi Johnson, a mother of a 13-year-old son named Aaron, had been facing daily defiance. Aaron would lash out, question her control, and insist he did not have to follow her rules. After he said he was making money, Heidi wrote him a strict but caring letter about what independence should actually include. She broke down household costs in plain numbers: rent of $430, electricity of $116, internet of $21, and food of $150. She also added a $30 fine if chores were not done. The letter was clear that certain items were not simply free gifts. They would be earned back through chores, respect, and steady responsibility. It also outlined everyday expectations like screen time after homework and chores, no back-talking, and basic hygiene. Aaron crumpled the note, left the apartment, and for a while things felt tense. But he returned and removed some electronics and other items. About an hour later, he apologized and asked what he could do to make things right, and how to earn them back. When Heidi posted the letter on Facebook, strangers commented, and she later clarified that she was not trying to discard him or put him at risk. She wanted him to understand that gifts come with pride in the home you share. In the end, they kept talking openly, and his effort improved, one choice at a time. As always, I have a wonderful tip for you to help with your mental reset and finding more joy in the world. Today's tip is about where you place your attention and who you let shape your perspective. Try following builders, not just commentators. It is easy to get pulled into the loudest voices, the ones who point, react, and summarize everything happening around them. But commentary, even when it is thoughtful, can keep your mind stuck in other people's conclusions. Building asks something different of you. It moves attention from what is wrong to what can be made. So take a moment and look at the feeds, the podcasts, the accounts you keep returning to. Are they teaching you how to create, solve, practice, and improve? Or are they mostly teaching you how to judge from a distance? Choose people who do the work, the teachers running classes, the volunteers showing up consistently, the makers sharing what they tried, what failed, and what they are learning next. When you follow builders, your brain starts to expect progress, not just opinions. And that expectation, it changes your mood. It makes action feel possible again. Well, friends, that is the end of this episode of 10 Better Minutes. Thanks for sticking with me through all of it, and for letting a little daylight into your day. If there is one thing to carry forward, It is that goodness is not a myth. It shows up quietly in ordinary kindness, in people doing the right thing even when nobody is watching, and in communities looking out for one another. This is Ian Rhodes with 10 Better Minutes. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow.